Hi, everybody. It's Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, and it is time right now for us to start the real estate coffee break. So now's a good time to get started. Watch this. God gave you 100,000 watts of power, but it's up to you to put them to work. This is the John Adams Radio Show. Bringing you truth, justice, and the American way of making money. I'm John Adams. Seated firmly in the free enterprise chair, speaking directly into the golden EMR microphone, this is Excellence in Money Radio. Coming to you live from an undisclosed location in a bunker somewhere in the southeastern United States, perhaps Southern Command headquarters on beautiful St. Simon's Island, the crown jewel of Georgia's coastal empire. Thence broadcast 23,300 miles directly into outer space. This week affiliates, Satcom 5. Thence rebroadcast all across the fruited plain to our vast EMR network. 331 stations plus the island of Guam. That's just the way it is. I am thrilled to have you with us for this special edition of the John Adams Radio Show. Let not your hearts be troubled. We will solve your real estate problems today. And as the sun rises on the American empire, we've got a great show for today. That's just all there is to it. And I am thrilled that you are with us. It is Saturday, and boy, have we got a lot to cover today. We need to get right to it, but let me tell you, we have got a lot to talk about today. I have that problem. I do need to warn you that the views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinion of station management, but they should, because this program makes more sense than anything else out there right now. A little special thank you to our sponsors before we get started. If you have mortgage lending needs, you need to talk to Peter Burke. And he has that easy to remember phone number, 678-557-9759. He's happy just to answer lending questions, even if you don't use him for a loan. And believe it or not, hey, that's his cell phone and he works all weekend. So that's the kind of people I like, that give you their cell phone and say, call me if you need me. That's what's called service. Another person that does that is Bill Preston over at American Comfort Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality. They're bringing comfort to America one home at a time. Hey, it's cold outside. What was that a Dean Martin song? Baby, it's cold outside. I'm not very good at Dean Martin. So you should be asking yourself, who is John Adams and why the heck should you listen to me? Well, the answer is pretty clear. I've been a property manager in Georgia for over 40 years now. I'm an investor and an entrepreneur. I spoke French for those of you in Smyrna. Entrepreneur means somebody who puts their money to use in a capitalistic way. which is getting harder and harder to do in this country, but we don't want to talk about that. Been a licensed Georgia broker since 1977, and I've had no complaints with the Georgia Real Estate Commission. I've never been arrested. I've never been bankrupt, although I've come close. I'm not going to tell you which. And I wrote the Landlord Survival Guide, which that was in about 1995, 94. And we have sold literally tens of thousands of them because it's a good practical guide to how to stay out of federal prison and be a landlord. You know, it used to be we just tried to help people be good landlords, but now if you mess up, you're going to federal prison, buddy. So we don't want that to happen. And perhaps most important is I am an Eagle Scout, and that means I am trustworthy. In fact, just as to revisit that, I am trustworthy. That means you could leave overnight at a Motel 6 with me, your wife, your daughter, your son, and nothing would happen, for I am trustworthy. In fact, it would be a good experience for them because they'd learn something about real estate. And so we have got a lot to cover today. Let's start with our quote for today. This is from Vince Lombardi, that great coach of the Green Bay Packers. And let's just talk about what he's saying here. Desire, a burning desire, is the starting point of all accomplishment. Just like a small fire cannot give much heat, a weak desire cannot produce great results. So if you're looking to buy that first house, we've got some great advice and practical help for you today. If you're a real estate investor looking to buy that next rental property, stay tuned because we've got a lot for you. We'll come back on those others. We all know the truth about real estate from John Stuart Mill, 19th century philosopher and economist, and he said landlords grow rich in their sleep. And that's what I want to do. I like getting rich in my sleep, and I bet you do as well. So what is on the agenda for today? Well, in the first hour, we're going to be talking about tools you can use. My first guest is real estate attorney Rachel Iverson. Next, we're going to talk about some first-time home buyer down payment assistance. Now, this is going to vary by state. I'm going to focus on Georgia, but this stuff is all over the nation. And you just need to find out about it. And usually they recharge these things in January. Guess what? It's January. Next, we're going to learn about Section 1031 tax-free exchanges. Now, this is primarily investor tools. In other words, you can't use 1031 on your principal residence. However, it is a extremely powerful tool that many real estate investors overlook. And we're going to look at it today in detail. Then we're going to have our intermission. Next, we're going to have our Landlord Hour with Ian Robbins, and yours truly will be talking about the upcoming $25 billion in landlord relief or rental assistance, if you want to call it that. And then Ian and I are going to cover the big three in tenant screening: rental history, employment and income, and credit history, because as far as I'm concerned, that's really about all that matters. So let's get started. I do want to remind you, hey, look at this. I bet you've never seen this before. Here's an actual photograph of me. And Margie has always called me the old reliable. And I don't know why she calls me that, but this was an actual photograph taken of me that no, it's not. Hey, this is our buy and hold strategy. I'm not going to spend much time on it because we don't have time, but I just want you to know it's there. And the basis of real estate is 5 key features. Income underpins it all. Real estate generates income. We also get depreciation and other tax benefits. And the tax benefits are great, although the incoming Biden administration is planning an assault on some of those. We'll keep you posted. Your equity tends to build up over time, and that's a good thing. And we get appreciation from two, not one, but two sources. The first is just economic. It costs more to build houses today, therefore, the price goes up. There's scarcity involved, okay? There are only so many pieces of land, but there's also forced appreciation. We're going to do a whole show on forced appreciation one of these days. And finally, leverage. And the acronym for these 5 key features is IDEAL. And that's why I think real estate is ideal. And you can memorize that so that when somebody says, well, why should I invest in real estate? You say, well, there are 5 reasons. And you just spin those off, and they're very impressed at that point. I sincerely believe you can retire comfortably on as few as 10 little rental units. And this is sort of an ideal little rental unit right here. It's small, but it rents like a charm. And it's an older house, but boy, it's gone up in value is all I can tell you. So I need to let you know that the 2021 Landlord Survival Guide is out for Georgia, and you can pick one up right now. If you have not been a subscriber before, you can subscribe for $197. If you have been, we have steep discounts, and the way to find out is to go to realestatecoffeebreak.com and click on webinar specials, and it'll tell you all about them. And by the way, we have completely updated and rewritten the killer lease for 2021. In fact, this has been going on for a couple of months now. The way it works is you end up with a subscription for a full year. That's because we are constantly updating and changing the lease based on court decisions, based on changes in federal and state and municipal law, and county ordinances. And it's just a never-ending quest. And I'm really proud of what we've done with the legal team for 2021. So 2 hands raised. All right. Does that mean I should take those questions? Sure, why not? I need to click down here. How do I do that? Go to participants, and I'm going to allow Krishna Akela to talk. Krishna, you need to unmute your microphone and say hi, John.
Hi, John.
Hi, Krishna. Thanks for waiting and welcome to the program. What's on your mind today?
John, with the COVID situation still going on,
yes,
what are our protections to make sure that we get our rent paid on time and we are still able to evict for the non-paying renters? Any improvements in that area? Could you please guide us?
I'll be happy to, and thank you so much for that question, Krishna. I'm going to mute you right now and then just talk about it briefly. We will go into that in greater detail, Krishna, in the second hour. However, just to let you know, we are currently under a 1-month extension of the CDC agency order banning certain evictions for non-payment of rent for qualifying individuals. They have to make a declaration. And what I'm finding is that the vast majority of people either don't make the declaration, meaning you can go ahead and evict them, or if they do make the declaration, they don't qualify for it. And there are a number of reasons that you can challenge that, but we had recently guidance from the United States Department of Justice, Krishna, saying that a landlord is allowed to challenge the validity of the tenant's declaration. What that means is you can get into court. So if somebody falls behind on their rent, even if they have given you a declaration, my advice would be first to look at this tenant and see if there's any possibility that their declaration is invalid. And I would think about 99 times out of 100, you'll be able to determine that their declaration is invalid. Why would I say that? Well, for starters, they have to show that they've been impacted by COVID. Well, that's easy. Everybody's been impacted by COVID. Okay. But next, they have to show that they have exhausted every potential avenue of assistance. And I don't think that's humanly possible. There are so many avenues of assistance. So all you'd have to do in court is say, I'd like to ask the court to ask the defendant here to list all of the avenues for relief that they have sought and attempted to obtain. And I'd also like them to tell the court that they are simply incapable of making any payment whatsoever. That is another requirement of the declaration. And there's not a soul that doesn't have a penny. There's not a soul that has exhausted every potential avenue of rent assistance. There are just too many. And so all of a sudden, the judge is going to look around and say, well, I don't know what to do. And then you say, well, I'd like to, Your Honor, could we try to work something out? Can we retire to a private room and talk about this? And they're going to be delighted. And that's when you pull out a consent order. And at that point, you are converting the past due rent to a judgment that is good for 10 years. And that's going to be on that person's credit report for 10 years. And you can even renew it after that. So, Krista, those are some ideas. We could go into greater detail, but that's a great question. And I do very much appreciate your being here with us today.
That guidance is at Real Estate Coffee Break under resources.
Oh, that guidance. If you would like to get that guidance, let me turn off the screen share for just a second while I'm doing this. Great. Krishna, if you would like to, or anybody, get that Department of Justice guidance that we got a couple of weeks ago from the DOJ, HHS, and CDC. It's very interesting because DOJ is taking a much lighter hand than did Health and Human Services. So how you get that is go to go to realestatecoffeebreak.com and click on what? Resources. And it's the first option. Okay, so it's got everything you need right there. Go to realestatecoffeebreak.com and click on resources, and you'll find a lot of good stuff there. Krishna, thank you. All right, we've got to get to and I appreciate that Jack and Angie have raised their hands. Y'all stay right there because we have got to forge ahead, but I promise I will come back to you guys. So let's move ahead with our very first guest here. I'm going to jump right over this because this could take all afternoon, and I want to get to our first guest. I do want to remind you, next Wednesday at 4 p.m., I will be teaching live a webinar, a 1-hour webinar on how to use video in your business. It's called Video Made Easy. And we'll be talking about why video is powerful, how to set up a studio for $150 or less, how to boost your SEO, your organic SEO, not purchased, and how to build a large audience, how to monetize your videos, how to screen prospective tenants, how to do all this for almost nothing. And I'm going to be presenting it live myself. And that's Wednesday, January 20th from 4 to 5 p.m. We'll do a live Q&A after that. And as this is free for all realtors and landlords. Now, if you don't qualify for that, it's $49. But everybody gets a manual. Everybody gets a workbook. And you're going to have to register at money99.com and click on video. And I don't think the video button's up yet, is it? It's going to be up this afternoon. So go to money99.com and click on video. And this is limited to the first 100 registrants because more than that we can't handle. We've got a new format this week. we're going to have a pre-recorded segment for each topic. And during that presentation, I want you to ask your questions in the Q&A. The Q&A is down at the bottom of your screen, okay? And then you can watch the Q&A on your screen and join in. And so while the replay, while the interview is playing, I'll be answering questions that you're asking live dealing with this topic or any other topic you'd like. And I would love for you to, we will try to include this in the replay. I hope it works, but we'd like you to participate. And this is something new that we're trying, and I'll be back live in between segments. Our first guest is real estate attorney Rachel Iverson. Rachel has been a friend and a trusted resource for me for many years. She is with Nelson and Galbraith, attorneys at law. As you can see, she not only gives it, and they have 5 closing locations in Metro Atlanta, but they're also all over. I know a lot of you South Carolina people are looking for a closing attorney. Call Rachel. She will take care of you. There's her office number. She also wanted me to make sure that you had her cell phone, and very few attorneys do that. And it's very impressive to me. So I am proud to present to you Rachel Iverson, and we're going to be talking about changes in the real estate settlement procedure due to the pandemic. And there's nobody that knows better. Here we go.
Well, thanks so much for having me today. I'm delighted to be here, and I am with Nelson and Galbraith. Our firm is based in Greenville, South Carolina, as our headquarters. We have several offices in South Carolina, Charleston, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to expand Nelson and Galbraith into Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow. Well, you've got a beautiful office setup. You guys have been so generous to me and to members of the real estate community who needed a place for continuing ed, but I'm afraid the pandemic sort of slowed that down a little bit, didn't it?
It did. It did. We have a wonderful conference facility. We'd love to open that up for education. We have certainly gone, like everyone else, to Zoom education, and we look forward to the days when we can have y'all back in the conference center.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, it is top notch, and you guys have more buttons and buzzers and bells and whistles than any place I think I've ever been, and it really is conducive to continuing ed, and we thank you for that. Rachel, the pandemic has changed how the legal community approaches settlement, what a lot of people just call closing. And I should say that I have been surprised over the years that what I consider the archaic combination of lenders wanting to do things the old-fashioned way, the legal community wanting to accommodate their clients, and perhaps worst of all, government in the clerk's office where they record everything, operating with this incredibly fractured 159 counties in Georgia, and every county does it a little bit differently. And until recently, we had people still actually making entries by hand into the grantor-grantee index. And how has that process changed in the age of COVID-19?
Yeah, you're right. And we both remember those manual entries. It has changed, but it really hasn't changed as much as you or I might have expected. There were several steps we took when COVID, it became apparent that we had an issue with COVID, and such as having people do drive-up closings. Until July 1, we went out with sanitized clipboards, masks, gloves, and we had people sign in their cars. To this day, we still have buyers and sellers signing separately. But we were thrilled, really excited in March when the Supreme Court, first, the governor issued an executive order, and that executive order allowed for communication technology to be used to conduct real estate transactions. So you could have a Zoom call. We use Zoom like a Kleenex these days, as the term. You could have a Zoom call, and as long as you were in the state of Georgia and there was a lawyer who was a notary or a witness and a notary or a witness on the call, the documents could be signed. They would just be sent to the lawyer's office. We still have to wet signature. So the witness signs as a wet signature and the notary signs as a wet signature. That's not the case in some states. There's remote online notification. We do not have that in Georgia. I like what we have, but we thought, well, this is terrific. This is going to, we're going to not have anybody come in the office. We're all going to be safe. Let me just mention that the Supreme Court had to issue an executive order authorizing us to conduct real estate closings that way.
This, we're talking about the Georgia Supreme Court?
The Georgia Supreme Court, yes.
Right.
So the governor issued the emergency order, and then the Georgia Supreme Court issued an order which permitted us to conduct closings with Zoom type technology and have the witness and notary, as long as the person was in Georgia. And that's a really key point. We'll have people down in Florida or people who have decided to quarantine in other states, and they think that I, as a Georgia lawyer and a witness, can get on and we'll all be golden. But in that case, they have to have a witness and notary from the state they're in.
Right. And so, I guess in South Carolina, if you had a South Carolina, Georgia transfer, Nelson Galbraith could handle the whole thing.
Absolutely. And we do that quite a bit because there are people closing transactions in South Carolina that are located in Georgia and vice versa.
Well, I would think Augusta would be a real hotbed for you guys, just because there's North Augusta and Augusta, and it's sort of split right there in the river.
Sure. Yes. Of course, South Carolina doesn't have this wonderful order that we have. So they can't do things exactly the same way. But we do benefit from being able to notarize for South Carolina transactions.
One of my most unpleasant memories over the many years that I've been a broker is sitting around. I go way back. I go back to King and Spalding days back in Atlanta, which was, I think that was 1913. That may have been my first closing. I'm not sure. But in any case, you're supposed to laugh, Rachel. I did not have a closing in 1913. I know you
didn't.
I know you know, but there are people out there looking, saying, wow, he's really old. So, I have these memories of sitting around King and Spalding and waiting for the lender to courier the package over. Where's the package? Well, we were scheduled to close at 3:00 on Friday afternoon. Whoops, we don't have the package. And so here you are, it's 7 p.m. The courier calls and says they're on the way, and it turns out they really aren't. And you'll have to postpone to Monday. And of course, all the documents have to be retyped because they weren't in a computer and they were all manually prepared. How has that changed when you get all of your authorizations and so forth and all of your document requirements from the lender? Is all of that now electronic?
It is. And, unfortunately, I also remember the courier days. I also remember hand typing settlement statements before we had the software. So at the risk of dating myself, but that has certainly changed. And we now receive the packages electronically. I think the real estate closing industry was a little slow, but finally realized this is not the way to operate, having couriers, especially driving the Atlanta traffic, to pick up packages. So all of our packages now come electronically. We don't
Wow.
have couriers going back and forth.
And what do? They send you the package ahead of time and then just send you authorization to release funds at the last minute, or?
Yeah, they do. So there's different lenders have different procedures. Some won't send a package until they have a clear to close. Some will. Basically, we want that, what we call CTC, clear to close, so that we know everything we're getting, we're gonna be closing and it's gonna be funded. Then we send documents to them to look at. They say, okay, you can fund. We wire funds. We used to get cashier's checks from the lenders. Georgia statute doesn't allow that anymore, but
For a very good reason, I would like to point out.
yes, we all remember probably that. For some of us do.
Oh dear.
So that's the case. When in Georgia, when we learned we were going to be able to witness and notarize, we were excited. We didn't want a lot of people coming in and out of our offices during COVID. We did find, and we do a lot with refinances. Lenders have been more lenient with refinances, but we do find that a lot of lenders will not allow the Zoom calls for buyers that are getting a mortgage. So we still aren't able to do that across the board. We're in our office every day.
We're talking with Rachel Iverson, who is an attorney at law, closing attorney extraordinaire, I might say, with Nelson Galbraith in Atlanta. By the way, if somebody, we've got a lot of real estate agents and investors on the phone and watching right now. Rachel, if they had a question about either a legal matter or how to pull together a contract, is that something you could help them with? And if so, how would they reach you?
Absolutely. We provide legal description for agents. That's one thing every agent needs for their contract. Our group email address is GAClosings, CLOSINGS at Nelson, NELSON, Galbraith, G as in girl, ALBREATH.com. And believe it or not, I'm going to give you my cell phone number.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to display it right on the screen for everybody to jot down. What is it, please?
Agents can text me or call me. That's one thing we feel like we offer that not every firm does. It's
That's
404-277-1566.
We are, Rachel, we're just about out of time, but I do want to ask, most of the contract writing software that agents are using now, whether it's SkySlope or FMLS or Georgia AML, all of them now offer an electronic signature that they claim is 128-bit verified, and I don't know what that means, but they seem to think that that's wonderful. And we don't get wet signatures hardly ever on contracts to buy or contracts to sell now. When will the day come that we won't need any wet signatures on a closing at all? The whole thing can be done with just the push of a button.
Well, that's a great question. And I did a seminar in DC 25 years ago predicting it would be much sooner than today. I think that state of Georgia, certainly other states may differ, feel strongly that documents that have to be witnessed and notarized have to have a wet signature for recording. So we are transitioning to e-signing. There's a lot of lenders that do e-sign most of their package, but we still have those recorded documents. I don't know if it's going to be during my career that it happens. I would have never guessed it, but I don't have the crystal ball working today.
Well, you'll appreciate that not too long ago, I spoke to the clerk of court in Glenn County. We're here on St. Simon's Island today, and we've got a little cottage down here. So I called the clerk superior of court and I said, can I use an e-signature on a quit claim deed? And he said, We don't do that kind of thing around here, buddy. You must be from Atlanta.
We don't do it in Atlanta either.
I guess
on a
not.
quick deed.
I guess not. Rachel Iverson, Nelson Galbraith, thank you so much for your time today. We have sort of run out, but would you be willing to come back another time and help us with your legal insight and wisdom and try to help us keep the tires on the road? How about that?
I would love to. It's been great talking with you. It's always great seeing you.
All right. Rachel Iverson, Nelson Galbraith. Thanks so much, Rachel. See you soon.
Have a great day.
Bye now. Well, the right arrow didn't work, but there we go. So that was our good friend Rachel Iverson with Nelson Galbraith in the Atlanta area, and a really good resource for you if you are a home buyer, if you are a real estate professional, if you are a real estate investor. Because remember, agents, I've been a licensed broker for many, many years, but that does not mean that I can practice law without a law degree. I know a lot of you people do it, and our good friend Seth Weissman obviously has done a yeoman's job of providing 800,000 new forms for GAR. I'm sorry, it's 800,001. But nonetheless, we need to be careful about constructing legal agreements and make sure that we have an attorney involved if there's any question. And that's where somebody like Rachel comes in, and they can do a great job for you. Okay. And if you have any questions about that, please put them in Q&A. I'm trying to answer these as quickly as I can. Our next guest is going to talk to you about first-time buyer down payment assistance. This is great, and I want you to see this. So let's get started. If you have any questions about this, put them in Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and start the next segment, and we're going to be in this video. I'll be answering your questions while this is playing. And we are back with our very special guest, Peter Burke of Reliant Mortgage Solutions. Hello, Dr. Burke, the doctor of democracy, the master of money, the landlord of lending, all of
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Hey, did you get the news? We are on Apple iTunes podcast.
I can't wait. I am very excited. I did hear it through the grapevine.
And Google podcast.
We're big time.
And Stitcher. And I don't even know what Stitcher is.
Oh, it's the best app around for listening to podcasts. And it's free.
Well, I'm thrilled to be have the Real Estate Coffee Break now as part of that. So, Peter Burke with Reliant Mortgage Solutions. I had asked you if we could talk today about a couple of things. One, you and I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that at least I believed that upon the arrival of the new administration, there's going to be a wall of money coming down Peachtree Street and every other street from Washington, D.C. to get the economy back on track, although it's actually performed pretty well. But we're just not going to have a problem with money. So the first question was, is there any money out there to help Georgia home buyers make home ownership possible? We've got people listening to this program. For starters, a lot of realtors who need to know that. But
yes.
Additionally, we have people who want to buy a house. And second, what are interest rates doing today?
Well, John, I can handle both of those topics. They're very timely. I can show someone where to get $7,500 or $10,000 that they can apply as part of their down payment or their closing costs if they're buying a home somewhere in Georgia.
Can I get the money if I'm not buying a home? Because I wouldn't mind it.
No.
Oh, all right. Well,
So-
let's go to the slides. What do you got?
Excellent. I will bring it up here. And
Isn't technology a wonderful thing?
technology is a wonderful thing.
There we go. That looks good.
Okay,
Ah, there it is.
there it is.
And you can click on the present button in the upper right-hand corner.
Yes.
Ain't computers wonderful? Look at this.
So,
So,
here we've got it. If you're a first-time home buyer, you may be eligible for $7,500 or $10,000. If you're one of the, you meet the criteria of someone who's entitled to that, and that's current or retired law enforcement.
look at your screen, Peter.
Oh, John, there's your badge. Yes.
Oh, is
Here's
that
the
upside
captain on
down?
the,
No, that's right side up. It's got my name right on it.
it's probably very helpful for speeding tickets.
It is. It is. That's a whole nother story. But
Well-
I think this is great. 7,500. Now, what do you have to do to qualify for this? Because the 10,000 for current or retired law enforcement, educators, healthcare, veterans, first responders, and COVID. That's a lot of people.
Yes, and Georgia follows the national definition of what a COVID-related essential worker is. Google it, but it is a broad list. So if you aren't one of the prior categories, you might be one of the essential workers. An example of a COVID-related essential worker is if you work in a call center. And if you're a home buyer and you would have qualified for $7,500, well, now you may qualify for the $10,000 if, for example, you're one of those essential workers.
Very interesting. Now, let me ask a question. First-time home buyers. We have people listening to this program who used to own a home, lost it, say in 2009 through, either loss of job or health challenges or whatever, and now they're back on their feet. Are they considered first time, or how does that work?
Federal definition is applicable, and it's, I believe it's 3 years, not 2 years. But if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good. And on the 10,000, is that also for quote first time?
It's 7,500 or 10,000 for anyone,
Okay.
but you could get the 10,000 if you're a first-time home buyer and you work in one of the eligible professions.
Got it. Got it. Now let's talk about income eligibility. What do we got here?
Always where the devil is in the details.
Yep.
So your household income as defined, and there's a number of lookup tools, depending upon the size of your household, 1, 2, 3, 8 people, and the household income, again, as defined. In order to maintain eligibility, your income can't be greater than 80% of the area median income. And there are some great simple lookup tools that you can calculate it. But I provided an example for a household in DeKalb and for Glynn County, which I think is coastal.
That it is. In fact, I'm in sight of the marshes of Glynn right now. And now, is this annual or is this monthly? Because I think I exceed it annually.
This is annual. Again,
Well-
this is designed for what's considered low, moderate income home buyers.
Well, I always
This
thought
is
I
free
was sort
money.
of a moderate kind of home buyer. I only own in the double digits. Is that not moderate?
Uh, if your income works, you qualify.
I don't think it's going to. What else have we got?
What can you use the money for? Use it as part of your down payment or closing costs.
Okay.
And by the way, to offset the remainder of your down payment, you can get gift funds from a family member. I don't have it in there, but the home buyer's only contribution has to be a grand total of $1,000, which can be part of your appraisal cost or home inspection. So your contribution maxes out. It has to be at least $1,000 into the transaction. But you can use this on an FHA loan where you're only required to have 3.5%. That's 7,500 or 10,000 could be part of that 3.5%.
Sure could. Wow, this is great. And is it forgiven?
Yes, this is a loan, not a grant. It doesn't require repayment. It's a lien against title. After 5 years of you maintaining home ownership, presumably it disappears.
Wow. Look, I've gotten loans from you, Peter, for a long time. And why have you never put a 5-year forgiveness provision in my loans?
You never asked.
Where is this money coming from?
The Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, as part of their Affordable Housing Program Home Ownership Set-Aside Program.
Very interesting. Okay. And if somebody wanted to know more about this, is for starters, is this going to be around in 6 months? I mean,
it has been around for as long as I know. I've been in the mortgage business 20 years. It's always been there. The money runs out, and it's always a mystery as to when the money runs out. But it does run out during the course of a year, and then it's evergreen. It comes back the next year.
okay.
But they've just funded it for 2021. And my suggestion is, if you want to use it or know someone who wants to use it, tell them about it.
Peter, would this be good for because we've got all manner of people listening right now. We've got, let's just say, millennials who are looking for their first time house, and they may be married, they may not be. But is this something that a young person could use to buy their first house likely?
Yeah, that's, I believe, typically who is motivated to want to use this. I would believe it's those millennials. They're the ones that are buying their first home. And my suggestion is, don't poo-poo it and say it's a lot of red tape. It's really not. But call and find out if your lender is participating. We do participate in that program. And the first step is determining that income, because that's the first hurdle and the most important part of it. And then there's some classes that you must attend that are online, nothing too strenuous, but take advantage of it is my suggestion.
Very interesting. If anybody wanted to know more about that, is that something you'd be willing to chat with them about?
Absolutely. They are welcome to call or text or email me.
678.
Call is always easy.
678-557-9759. The easy to remember number. Real quick, give us a rates update. What are rates? I mean, this is ridiculous.
I've got it. And here's a little comment. They started off with a little bit of an increase from the lows of the previous week. A little bit of improvement from by Wednesday, but still not as low as they were last week, but it's insignificant. It's insignificant. And here's some examples of rates. Let's start off with if you're refinancing the home you live in or a second home and 80% loan to value, got a 740. Let's say it's a loan of 200,000. You don't want any cash out. There's your rate, 2.75 with no points.
Fantastic.
Yes, and I put off to the side if you want a 15-year with no points, 2.375. You might find rates below 2, but you're probably going to have to pay 2 points to get there.
That just doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, let's say you want to buy a home, putting down 20%, $400,000 home. There's your rate, 2.625 with no points.
Very, that's remarkable.
Yep.
That's simply remarkable.
And refinance and cash out of a rental property, popular topic for a single family. Look at that. 70% loan to value,
That's
$140,000 loan.
That is unbelievable. Is that 15 or 30?
That's 30. 15 is probably 3 1/4.
Wow. You know, is the differential between the 30 and the 15 appears to have shrunk a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you and I used to talk about 50 basis points as being, you know, what we'd like to see. And I don't see that anywhere here. Yeah,
it's not. It's not. You know, and it's funny. 20-year and 25-year are even higher than 30. It's silly to even look at them.
Why would that be?
Nuances of who buys bonds,
I guess. And if I come across a great deal on a rental property and I think, man, I want to buy this, and I can put down 20% in cash, I got pretty good credit. What are we looking at here?
3.625.
That's excellent.
Yep. These are rates you'll never need to refinance again. I say that because they can't go any lower.
I will personally guarantee that. This is simply remarkable. Are you busy as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs?
We are busy, but we're trying to get to everyone. So, but we are busy. Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Real quick, talk to us about some more of these loans.
You know, I'll tell you, a 15-year mortgage is probably the one mortgage that people ask about most often. And one thing I say, and I can almost assure you, if you have a 15-year loan today, we can almost prove to you it makes no sense to refinance it, even if it's a half point or 3/4 of a point higher than these rates. It's remarkable that at those loans, a few years into it, you never have to refinance a 15-year. You look at the rate and say, gosh, I can get lower, but when you put it to paper, you can never get it to make sense. And there's no benefit to a homeowner. It's the last loan you'll need.
Is that because they start so aggressively paying down the principal from day one?
They amortize so quickly, it almost never makes sense.
And the farther you are into the loan, the less the interest is going to be an impact. So very interesting. Well,
it does not make.
Yeah, that's to some extent contrary to the John Adams doctrine, which is if I could get a 100-year mortgage, I'd take it, fixed rate.
Yeah, so, I know.
If you come across any 100-year loans, would you call me, please?
Sure, absolutely.
Peter Burke, Reliant Mortgage Solutions, 678-557-9759. Hey, look at the magic chalkboard. It's 678-557-9759. Peter, are you working today?
I am, John.
All right, so you'll answer the phone Or if
Yes.
you're already on the phone, it may go to voicemail, but you'll get back to us.
Yes.
Fantastic.
All righty.
Peter, thank you so much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
John.
it.
Thanks, everybody.
See you
Have a
again
great
real
rest of your
soon.
day.
Okay.
Yep. Thank
Bye
you.
now. Okay. Well, that was certainly interesting. We had a number of good questions during the Q&A. On the Q&A during that segment. And I would point out, Peter was talking about those loans other than the down payment assistance. I'm talking about the ones at the end, the rates for non-special people, not first-time home buyers. Those were all notated as requiring a credit score of 740. But I want to make it real clear, Reliant Mortgage Solutions has a variety of loan programs for a variety of different credit situations. And they also specialize in FHA loans where technically, there is no minimum credit score. Now, the lender may impose their own minimum credit score, but FHA does not. And so I would just say, pick up the phone and call Peter rather than saying, oh, well, I can't qualify for this, because he's just got, there are a lot of different programs, and rates are so low right now that I think you are well advised, even if the rate is a little bit higher, because your credit score, if you're waiting to get your credit score up to 740 in order to lock in a refi or lock in a purchase, by the time you get it up that high, interest rates may be who knows where. I mean, anything literally can happen. And so I would just encourage you to go ahead, call Peter, get the ball rolling. And he never charges for that kind of advice. So that's my advice. So, and that's what you're paying for here. Okay, let's go to, I don't want to talk to Peter again. And oh, by the way, here's his phone number, 678-557-9759. I'm going to share the screen and we'll go right to our next segment. Let's see. I'm going to click share. You know what we're going to do, Marge? I'm going to save John Mangum for next week. And I'm going to take a couple of questions.
The raised hands.
All right, the raised hands, because some of you have raised your hands and I want to get to you guys. And here we go. Jack is waiting for me. Jack, if you will unmute your microphone and say hello, I'll know that you're there. Jack may have gone to get a gin and tonic. Hi, Jack. Are you with me? Jack? All right. Well, we will come back to Jack. And I'm going to go to Angie and say, Angie, please unmute your microphone and say hello. Angie may have gone to get a tequila sunrise. That's okay. Let's go to Ryan, who has raised his hand. And I'm going to ask Ryan to unmute. And then if he'll unmute, all he has to do is say hello and he'll be on the real estate coffee break. Ryan, are you with me? I'm going to try Lorna, and then that'll sort of be it. Hi, Lorna. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And it's in the lower left-hand corner. Just click on the microphone and then say, hi, John. And I'll know you're there. The entire population of people who have raised their hands has gone to the bar. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So that being said, I'm going to close that right now. And we're going to move ahead over here. And I do want to remind everybody that we do have a webinar coming up next Wednesday. It's called Video Made Easy. I'd love for you to come. It's how to use video in your business. And we'll start by talking about why video is so powerful. Hey, you're watching it right now. How to set up a studio for $150 or even less. How to boost your organic SEO, which is search engine optimization, and why that's important. We're going to talk about how to build an audience, how to monetize your videos. And agents, you need to know that. This will get you business. We're going to talk about how to screen prospective tenants, landlords. This is ideal for you, and how to do all this for almost nothing. This program is presented to you live by me next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Actually, it's a 1-hour presentation, and then I'll take questions after that, but we're not going to keep you all day. And it's $49 unless you're a realtor or a landlord, in which case we would love to have you come with our compliments. You do need to register. Go to money99.com and click the button that says video. Is the video button up?
No, I'm working on it right now.
Oh, we're working on the video button right now. So jot this down, and then this afternoon, go get the video, sign up for video this afternoon.
Tell them to send an email to video@money99.com.
Or you can send an email to video@money99.com. That's video@money99.com. Margie will get that, sign you up, and send you a confirmation. How about that? So we will certainly do that. Now, where are we? Oh, yeah. This is limited to the first 100 folks. I just don't have any more seats available on this particular platform that we're going to be using. So I wish I did, but I don't. So that's where we are. Now, I'm going to skip John Mangum, and then because I'm going to save that for next week because we've just about run out of time, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into our intermission. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back with that in about 4 minutes.